relaxed, lazy, don't-give-a-shit sort of way.
"The light,"
Zell replied, staring off into the distance.
"It's like a tower, with hundreds of windows lit up with candles, but it's too big, too bright. No man could have built something like that."
"Now you're getting it, friend." Ilarion grinned. He leaned back against the soft cushions of the carriage bench, his vivid red eyes glowing vibrantly against his black skin. When I'd first met him, they'd reminded me of the roses in Lady Evelyn's garden, but now I decided that wasn't right. They were hotter than roses, more dangerous, like the flickering embers lying at the very bottom of a fire pit. Whenever he smiled, the rings on his hands pulsed crimson. As we rode, when I wasn't chugging brandy wine and burrowing as deeply as I could into Zell's chest, I glanced out the window and tried to get a feeling for the heartlands. The wheat stalks stirred with laborers, shirtless men and boys, sweating in the hot sun and gazing at our carriage in wonder. We passed merchant caravans and marching bands of soldiers, and once, a whole troop of vagabonds on tour from the eastern baronies. Now and again, I spotted animals in the fields, hulking, bull-like creatures with thick limbs and tiny, shrunken heads, barely bigger than my fist. According to Lyriana, they were pullers, created by the Brotherhood of Low to serve the farmers. I called them ugly-ass cow monsters. On a bridge over a gentle river, we rode by the blackened ruins of a castle, just a few lone pillars of stone standing on a hilltop.
"All that's left of the kingdom of Jakar,"
Ilarion said, with a slightly uncomfortable pride.
"My ancestors conquered them 600 years ago."
"Oh, nice. Good for them," I replied, and took another sip. For the first 16 years of my life, I'd dreamed daily of leaving the Western Province and seeing the rest of the world, Lightspire and the Heartlands in particular. But I was here now, and it was just so weird. It wasn't that it was different, because I knew it'd be different. I knew the people looked different and dressed different and ate spicy food and took their religion way more seriously. But there were other ways it was different. Ways that I couldn't put my finger on, but felt more profound. Everything here felt older, more rigid, like the way of life had been decided centuries ago and no one had questioned it since. I thought of towering redwoods and black sand beaches and wide, muddy rivers and dancing bands of emerald light. My breath choked in my throat, and I felt such intense homesickness that it took every ounce of willpower I had not to burst into tears. We rode on. For the first half of our journey, Lyriana had seemed the most herself, as if the familiar sights of her home province were lifting her spirits. She chirped away from her seat, telling us about the history of the region, the different types of crops, and sometimes completely random things like a story about how Ilarion had fallen down a well when he was 7. He swore he'd climbed down there on a dare. But as we drew closer and closer to Lightspire, her good mood seemed to evaporate. She became quieter, more withdrawn, spending most of the day gazing out the window pensively. Was she nervous? Afraid? More than once, I caught her idly rubbing at the inside of her wrist, at the scarred patch of burned skin where her tattooed sigil used to be. When she'd last left Lightspire, she'd been a sister of Kaya, an order of mages dedicated to helping the people of Volaris. But she'd broken their sacred vow of pacifism and had killed to protect and to avenge. Now she was coming home an apostate, a mage without an order. I figured it would be insensitive to pry, so I decided to keep my questions to myself. I made it about a day. "So, what exactly is an apostate?" I asked as our carriage bumped along a dusty stretch. "Like, what does that actually mean?" Ilarion and Lyriana shared an uneasy glance.
"True apostate."